What's up guys, welcome back to Buck's Garage. My name is Aaron and this is my 2007 BMW 530i E60. In today's video, I'm going to tell you everything that's gone wrong with this car in the last 3 years and tell you exactly how much it costs to keep a 13-year-old BMW on the road. So if you saw my last video, you know that I bought this car 3 years ago for about $6,300 and it had 92,000 miles on it. Today this car has 126,000 miles on it. There were some things wrong with it when I bought it, some things have gone wrong since I've had it, and there's some stuff wrong with it right now. So today I'm going to give you an overview of everything that was wrong with it when I bought it, what's gone wrong, and what's wrong with it right now, and tell you exactly how much it all costs. So let's get going.
Okay, the first thing that was wrong on this car was the hood release strut had gone bad. This car has a unique hood release strut in that it is spring-loaded, so when the strut goes bad, the trunk lid just flies open wildly and bangs against the stops. So definitely something that has to be fixed. I recommend going aftermarket on this part. It's about $60, $180 for the BMW part, so definitely want to go aftermarket.
The next part was the rear window seal here was completely deteriorated. It was all chewed up by the sun, had all kinds of UV damage, and had to be replaced. The awesome thing about this is you can actually replace this without taking the window out. This old seal just slides out and you can buy this whole piece all in one piece, and it comes all together, and you just slide it back in, replace it, and makes everything look a lot better. Again, pretty inexpensive. I'll have the list below with all the prices on all this stuff, but not too big a deal to fix. Next thing was the suspension on all four corners was pretty well blown, and that has been a theme with most of the used cars I've bought. It's just one of those things that people just usually don't fix. They just keep driving it. They should be done every 60,000 to 80,000 miles, and people just keep driving without fixing it and not realizing that their handling is terrible. It's one of the easiest things you can do to make a used car feel new again is to replace the suspension. This car has the sport suspension on it, so I did have to get sport specifics, struts and rear shocks. Got all that from Rock Auto. I think FCP Euro might have that stuff. I didn't know about them back at the time. But I will have links for all that as well. Pretty easy job, just regular struts in the front and then just shocks in the back. Rear springs were fine, so no big deal there. Next thing was the hood struts were blown too. No big deal, real easy replacement there. And then the windshield washer pump was broken and one of the cup holders was broken on the interior. Again, pretty easy, cheap parts and easy fixes. There were a few issues with the engine on this car when I bought it. First and foremost was the valve cover gaskets were leaking, and that is pretty common on these BMW inline 6 engines. Mine in particular was leaking pretty hard out of this side, and if you took a really hard left turn, all that oil would spill out onto the exhaust down there, and it was really made a big mess. That wasn't too big a deal to fix. I did have to take the valve covers off, replace that gasket. It was easier in the old E46 I did the same job on. While I was in there, I did spark plugs because it was easy to get done, and that kind of fixed that issue for now. Next issue was the water pump and thermostat went out on the car. The water pump on this car is an electric water pump, so it is down there, down in the bottom of the engine bay. Kind of hard to get to. It really wasn't the easiest job, but not terrible. Something you can definitely do by yourself. Thermostat is down there as well. That actually went bad first, and then the water pump followed about a year later, so I've been in there twice. Not too big a deal. I'll link the parts below. They are a little bit more expensive than you might think for the water pump and thermostat, but that's just the way it is with BMWs. The parts are expensive, but if you can do the work yourself, the repairs aren't too terrible overall.
A recent issue on this car was the AC compressor seized up and tossed the belt. Luckily, this car has an electric water pump, so it was able to get to the side of the road without overheating, but you do lose power steering and alternator. There are different theories to get the AC compressor out of this car. Some say to go from below, some say to pull it out of the top. I found it was easier to pull it out from the top. I did have to remove the coolant expansion tank, and I had to loosen the thermostat and water pump from below to get the bolts out of the compressor. This was one of the more difficult jobs I've done on this car, but it is doable at home with basic tools. It was also one of the more expensive jobs I've done. Between parts and having the AC system recharged, all in I was about $700 to $800 on this job.
Currently, I do have a squeak coming from the belt and pulley system, so that's going to have to be replaced. And then I've also got a pretty good oil leak coming from the oil filter housing gasket. and the power steering reservoir is leaking really well too. So I will be working on that in future videos, so stay tuned if you're interested in learning on how to fix that. Other than that, this car has been pretty reliable. I've done all the repairs myself. I just buy the parts, usually from FCP Euro if I can. Otherwise, I'll shop around, and I'll have links for all that stuff below. But pretty reliable overall. Really hasn't cost me a whole lot of money to keep this thing on the road. It's definitely been worth it. There have been some fun things I've done to the car. I did do some new LED bulbs in the front to make the angel eyes a little bit nicer. I did the clear sides over here. And then I also did new LED interior lights, because I just think it makes the car look a lot more modern when it has the LED lights instead of the old halogen style bulbs. So other than that, it's really just been doing repairs on this car and driving it. So that about sums up everything that's gone wrong on this car. Always nice when the video about stuff that's wrong with the car and has gone wrong with the car is a short one. And for this car, that's been the case. If you haven't seen my previous video on this car, go ahead and check that out. I gave you a little bit better review on the car, kind of my thoughts, the driving experience on it. I really think that if you get the right old BMW, it's really a great value, and they can be very reliable, as this one has been. I'm hoping to keep this one for another 20, 30, 40,000 miles. As long as it's reliable, I'll probably keep it because it's really fun to drive, it's comfortable, and it still looks great in my opinion. So I will be doing some work on the car in the near future. The two things I showed you that are wrong in the front, I'll be doing some videos on that. So stay tuned to the channel if you're interested in cars like this. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and we'll check you next time.